Hello everybody, welcome to WhatCulture Gaming. I'm Scott, joined by Josh.
Hello Scott.
Josh, my friend, did you know that Overwatch 2 is out?
I did not.
It's been out for 6 years. It's also called Overwatch 1.
Very nice.
Hilariously. Now, I thought we'd cover a whole bunch of stuff going on with the game. I've been playing it for the last few days, and I cannot stress how much this is almost nigh on the exact same game, down to all the same voice lines, all the same powers that your characters have. Just even when you play it, it feels exactly the same. Like,
right.
Lucio's doing his power up, and he's saying, it's going down. You've got Reaper doing the die, die, die thing. It's 2016 all over again. And so there's a lot of stuff to break down. A lot of the fans are annoyed with the monetization practices that are now in the game, and it's worth pointing out that, you know, for as similar as Overwatch 2 is to Overwatch 1, one massive component is the monetization in the game. The fact that they've said it's Overwatch 2, but it's very much just a relaunch of how to monetize the game overall.
Right.
And we'll get to that stuff in due time. I want to run down a few things because I feel like, go on.
Let me butt in, because, you
Yes.
know, you're talking about it being so similar to the first game. And,
Yes.
you know, I hope this game succeeds. I want it to be good. But that said, it's weird to me that they are front-loading the PvP elements, which are going to be inherently similar to the first game, even if it's map for map, like you alluded to before recording.
Our TV's died again.
Has it actually?
Yeah.
What the hell? My question is, why are they leading with the PvP when the PvE was the sole reason why Overwatch 2 was initially conceived, or at least that's what the early interviews suggested, that the reason it was called Overwatch 2 was that they were bringing this whole new component, but that whole new component is not there at the launch of Overwatch 2.
I think they've struggled so much with justifying what this is. Like, I did a little tweet over the weekend of just like, it's Overwatch 1 again, so ergo, it's Overwatch 2. It's sort of like Nigel Tufnell style of it's one more, it's one louder. But at the same time, I feel like they've struggled to justify this stuff. The PvE elements aren't in here. A lot of the comparisons to older maps that came out, a lot of people just said, well, that's just the same map, but at a different time of day. That's literally the case. When you're on these maps, it just feels like the same game again. I feel like they've very much struggled to differentiate what Overwatch 2 is, which is why I just keep leaning on the marketing side of it. I guess we'll get back to it, because for me, I feel like they've said, this is Overwatch 2, and they've overhauled the monetization. They get a big old spike in interest. They've got people like us playing it again, and Josh is going to. I've been playing it across the weekend for the first time in a good few years, and maybe that's all they wanted, to cast quite a wide net and see who they can make stick on this new monetization model. We'll get to the monetization stuff very soon. I want to cover a few things that I just feel can be filed under death by 1,000 cuts. Lots of little things that contribute to the overall feel of Overwatch 2 just feeling worse as something to interact with than Overwatch 1 did. So I'll just break a few things down. One thing is that the menus are a hell of a lot worse. Your player highlights are now inside your player profile. They used to be on the main menu. They used to be a lot easier to see. You have to go finding them now. The HUD overall is a lot less enjoyable. I feel like in-game, they nigh on hide what your characters can do. In Overwatch 1, you could just hit a button, bring up your abilities, as you're in the middle of a match, and be like, oh, cool, I can do this thing where I put a turret down and then go and do it. Now it's either inside the heroes option on the main menu, so you've got to go hero by hero, bring up their abilities, or when you're picking the character at the start of a match, bring up your abilities and then just remember what you can do in a match.
This is a weird thing, sorry to butt in yet again, but Activision Blizzard in particular seem to keep making the games and the UIs for those games worse. Like playing the Modern Warfare 2 beta last week, and the UI for that game was so terrible. It was like one of the most criticized thing about that beta, but the UI from Modern Warfare 2019 was pretty good. And it's like, why have we taken such a huge step back? Like, why is this not? What's going wrong with this UI construction? Why are they chasing trends that don't seem to translate to console play specifically, but might work for PC?
Well, this is a whole separate thing. What the hell's going on with video game UI? Why is there that stupid cursor thing in every other game? And then the solution, quote unquote solution, is what we have now, which is almost like a Windows Phone thing, where it's just a bunch of tiles. None of this is good.
I'm not a hateful man, and I'm not a murderous man, but I would kill that cursor.
Yeah.
You know, it's fine for PC, but on a joystick, it don't work.
No, I just feel like overall that thing is everywhere. Like I said, it was in the likes of Destiny, which blew up, and a whole bunch of executives went, well, it worked for Destiny, let's do that for everything. I'm going to get back to a Destiny comparison.
Sorry, I'm just going off on a huge tangent, but Assassin's Creed has made a lot of mistakes. I certainly have, and I've only been thinking about this cursor.
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed has made a lot of mistakes, but adding the cursor to its menu, what are you thinking, Ubisoft?
I don't think that feel like there was a single game where any of us enjoyed that layout of a menu where, oh, it's good, I get to pilot a cursor on as if I have a mouse. Like, what the living hell is that? But yeah, one more point about the overall main menu layout and the fact that, like I said, they hide the likes of highlights or your character abilities and everything, is that they do push you you towards the shop. They do push you towards, buying more stuff. That's the overall feel of this is just pushing you towards or incentivizing buying stuff. Like here's some stuff that you might not have that you might want to put some money into, which again I'll get back to. They have changed, again, another HUD thing, the way that it looks when you kill someone in the game. There used to be this whole feel in Overwatch 1 where you take someone out and a big skull flashes on screen and it felt very enjoyable, especially if you were getting multi-kills. That's now gone. The only thing that comes up on screen is a really boring boxed out text along the bottom of the screen that just gives you the name of the person that you killed, and I think there's a tiny skull icon next to it. It sounds like the tiniest thing in the world, but it makes all the difference when you're playing the game.
This is it, right? I haven't played Overwatch 2 yet, so I'm just getting your first impressions here. But that's a similar change that Battlefield 2042 made, where you got a completely different sense of feedback from your kills or from your, assists or whatever, where it was just a small bit of text and it felt nowhere near as impactful as the previous games did when you were getting, these big, bold kind of rewards, like this sort of kinetic reward, I suppose, for doing well in the game. It sounds like a small thing, but it impacts the flow of gameplay in a kind of really strange subconscious way. Like it does have an impact on the way the game feels and how satisfying it is to play it.
I feel like feedback's a really good term for this, and I feel like overall, like all these things, everything that I'm covering here, just for me, combines into an overall feel of the game that just feels worse than Overwatch 1 did. It doesn't feel like it's a worthwhile thing to put your time into because of everything that I'm going to be covering. And like I said, everything sort of folds into everything else. Aim detection right now is way off. If you shoot next to someone's head, you'll just class it as a headshot anyway. Something that Overwatch, nearly every online shooter has to some degree, but you would think that this far into the game with so many replicable elements from the original, they would have nailed this side of it. There's a video doing the rounds of Hanzo just taking a few bow and arrow shots next to like Tracer's head. He's here, her head's there, and it still headshots her anyway.
Right.
Things like that are very obvious, to see. There's another story doing the rounds of a glitch, which apparently has been patched, where the game was just taking someone's credits, even though they are legacy credits from Overwatch 1. They were credits that you just earned in the original game. Overwatch 2 did just spend them on a skin that someone didn't want, and they got in touch to ask for a refund or for the credits to be put back, and Blizzard said that all those purchases are final. Keep in mind that it's legacy credits. The guy didn't pay for them in the first place, in theory, but still a bit of a bug.
As someone who accidentally bought FIFA 14 for £60, and no one believed that it was by accident and did not get a refund, I can relate to that quite a lot.
Controller was paired in a different room and accidentally navigated and bought the game.
And you guys probably won't even believe that either, because Sony PR didn't. They just certainly didn't take any of it. They thought I was making it up. I wasn't making it up. Still got a gripe about it.
The old fake controller switcheroo. Now, speaking of feedback stuff, in Overwatch, if you were doing very well, you would get the on fire state. You would get this whole flaming sort of icon on the screen that would let you know that you were doing well. That's been removed. Assumedly, the general sort of conversation around it is that they'll be patching it back in as another thing to sell you, as another customizable element.
Right.
Maybe different things to be set on fire, maybe per character, whatever. But again, in terms of feedback, in terms of feel, in terms of what it feels like to have a game of Overwatch, if you're doing well, there's very little feedback now. You do get some accolades in the corner of the screen, but it's another thing that's been taken out. Then if you get onto cosmetic stuff, they've added a souvenir system alongside the emotes, but it's just holding up like an item from the game. Like your character just goes into a pose and holds something up. It's meant to be a reason to get the battle pass. It's meant to be something that is filed under the cosmetic side, but it just looks a bit lame. There's also weapon charms in here, but there are many characters that don't use actual firearms. So there's a example being if you're playing as like Zenyatta or someone who just fires things from their hands, weapon charm just sticking out their hand. just what the hell is this? There's things like that. So we can use all of this and pivot across into the overall monetization side of it, which I'm going to bring you in. Because you played a hell of a lot of Call of Duty Warzone.
Yes.
And I feel like what they've attempted to do is a hybrid of Fortnite and Call of Duty Warzone.
Yes.
And right now, where do you think the general attitude is from the audience on monetization of battle passes and that approach to stuff?
I think in a free-to-play game, which Overwatch 2 is right now, Battle Pass is probably the best system of a bunch of bad systems. I don't mind paying into a Battle Pass for a free-to-play game if the rewards in there are cool and worthwhile, because it gives me something to play towards for the 2 to 3 months that these seasons last. I prefer it way more than compared to like the loot box systems that we've had in the past. Even Overwatch 1's loot box system, I never really gelled with that at all. I always felt that was, for me personally, unrewarding, and I hated getting duplicates. I would never get the skins that I wanted. And with a battle pass, you know exactly kind of what you're going to get at each level. And for me personally, if the rewards are fine, it's a good way to monetize a free-to-play game, and I don't mind it too much. But how have you found it as someone who is potentially, and don't let me put words in your mouth, less willing to buy into stuff like that if you don't have to?
We talked about this before recording, the idea of what are you buying, and the idea that you're only really getting your money's worth for a battle pass, let's say weeks or months into the future. I bought Halo Infinite's battle pass immediately because it's Halo, and obviously that game was an absolute fire in regards to making that feel rewarding over time. So yes, I'm always hesitant because I'm like, what am I paying for? Do I believe that this game is going to be worth 20 hours, 30 hours, 100 hours going forward? I would always rather have some option for a buy-in. For example, in Overwatch's case, if you have the free battle pass, you're not getting the new character Kiriko until you're level 55. And the grind is very protracted. Like, I've played about 12 matches and I'm barely out of level 1. Mm-hmm. Like, we're talking about a very stretched out grind. Now, the overall season, I think they've said, is like 9 months.
9 weeks.
9 weeks, sorry. So that's about 2 months and a week before Kiriko will then be made available to buy with coins. But you're still having to put in a lot of time just to get that character, and that's on the free battle pass. If you're doing the premium one, which is £10 or $10, sorry, it's £8.39 or $9.99. That gets you Kiriko, but that pack is being advertised alongside the Mythic Genji skin, which you don't get until you're level 88. So you're trying to grind out 88 levels to get the skin that you paid for, at the beginning, but you've still got to put all the time in before you get it. That's where I kind of break on it, because I would rather have some sort of entry thing that lets me get my money's worth and lets me wear that skin, or do some sort of goal that lets me unlock that skin. I feel like that's the conversation around this. It's like skill-based unlocks versus monetization unlocks, and there's more to get to in this, but that in itself is a talking point.
It certainly is, and it's kind of a strange thing, and I don't really know where I fall down on this as of yet, especially because I haven't played Overwatch 2 in particular, so I can't say personally, how that grind is. For like over 9 weeks, it needs to feel, long enough that you're not just blitzing through it and have no more progression, but not protracted enough where you feel like it's getting into week 8 and you're thinking, oh my god, I've got 50 levels to go, and I'm never going to unlock these extra things. To me, kind of like having the battle pass laid out and having a premium battle pass, that you can work towards is, it's not ideal, but it's better than what they had before, in my opinion. And that's kind of what I'm going off of. I'm less comparing this to other free-to-play games and kind of more to what I had, what I experienced with Overwatch personally. And I know that they did eventually patch in the ability to buy skins outright, but from what I gather, that's also in Overwatch 2.
So even that thing in Overwatch 1, when they brought in the ability to buy certain skins, they were event-based, or they were anniversary-based, and you had to have Overwatch League tokens, I believe, to get them. I dropped off Overwatch 1 after like 2 years or 3 years, but did play a hell of a lot of it. I feel like everybody did for the first few years. But yeah, if you're talking about comparisons of feel, I feel like Overwatch 1 felt more rewarding. Like, yes, it helped pioneer the whole loot box thing, but I feel like you could have a handful of matches in Overwatch 1 and get enough coins to buy a skin that you want, or you'd have an idea of how many matches you're going to have to do to get enough coins to get towards the thing that you want. Now you're doing a handful of matches and only getting Battle Pass XP, and the coin amounts are insane. Like, if you want to get a legendary skin, it's 1,900 or 2,000 coins, if not more, and because it's $10 or £8 per 1,000 coins, that's a skin every $20, or a skin every £18, which I get that the market has dictated that. Destiny very much tried that. Destiny 2 tried overpriced dance emotes and skins and everything, and the market responded to it, but I think it's ludicrous to pay that much money for a skin.
You could buy Proteus, an excellent Doom-like game, for the same price.
Or food for your family.
For one of those things. Or food for your family, yes, absolutely. That is kind of nuts because, again, not to just keep going on about Call of Duty Warzone, but if I'm comparing to that, which I have some experience in, the skins there are similarly priced. You're looking at £16 to £20 for a skin, but at least there you kind of get like a skin pack. You get, the operator skin, you get weapon skins often, then you get a bunch of, emblems and weapon charms and stuff. So it's kind of like a pack of stuff, which for me feels a little bit more enticing than dropping $20 just on a straight up, one skin.
Yes, and that's another thing as well as to throw in here in terms of the Death by 1,000 Cuts stuff. One of the newer characters, Junker Queen, her premium skins, a lot of people have just been comparing the unlocks. Even if you grinded out all the monetization side of it, whether you paid for it or you grinded out the levels, if you get her legendary skins, they just look very, very similar to her standard stuff.
Right.
So even for that character, it doesn't even feel that rewarding. And that's also alongside the fact that if you were going to grind this stuff out, fans have already realized that it would take about 8 months to get enough coin just by playing to get one legendary skin, because you have to do all the weekly challenges, and they only give you 30 coins and sometimes only only 10. So you're grinding out all your weeklies, like, you know, for months on end to get one skin, or you can cough up the cash and just pay the $20 and get the thing outright. That, as a, you know, a crystallization of what's wrong with this game.
Yeah.
Or what's wrong with the industry overall, if we want to extrapolate it out, is just how much of a price tag we put on skins and premium stuff. And then there's also the knock-on effect of, is this the only viable business model at this scale of production?
Scott Tilbert, have you gone through all of these death by 1,000 cuts and details? Because I have a big question to ask you, but I don't want to do it until I have all of the information.
I think, no, you should bring on your question.
Okay, my question is, right, obviously this is Overwatch 2, but this is Overwatch 2 in early access. They haven't really necessarily made that clear, so if you just go on the store, it just is right there.
Nothing
Overwatch 2. Yeah, if you were just like a casual player, you might not even realize that there was a PvE mode to come, that this was a game that was going to get updated, that this was just the start of something that is, you know, like I said, in early access. My question is everything you mentioned here justifiable in an early access release, or is that thrown out the window, that excuse thrown out the window entirely when they are kind of just, you know, not hiding the fact, but obfuscating the fact that it's not on the, like, you know, you go on the store, it's not like Overwatch 2 early access, it's just, like I said, Overwatch 2.
I think it's worse because it's, that's the thing, the thinnest veil that it's early access. Like, I mean, I forgot that they said it was coming to early access in October, like months ago. That is nowhere in the game. That is not in the main menu, that's not on the PlayStation storefront from playing the PlayStation version. I feel like the monetization and the grind is less acceptable because it's you know, you've said like this is your thing that you're going for.
Yes.
And I feel like the underlying sentiment is let's just see what we can get away with. Let's see how much we can protract the grind, and let's see how many price tags we can put on every single element for as long as possible.
Activision Blizzard seeing what they can get away with. That doesn't sound like that company, Scott Tilford.
Every single time with one of their products. And I feel like there was so much love for Overwatch, especially back in 2016. I was telling you before recording that I feel like superhero conversations around superhero culture and the feel of superhero stuff in media was in such a different place back then. You know, the MCU was still in full swing. We hadn't had Endgame, etc., where we are now. And I feel like, you know, executives or whatever look at that and go, we're going to call it Overwatch 2. There's going to be a big influx of players. Let's see what we can get away with. How valuable is this IP in 2022? And let's just see how much we can do. A lot of fans as well pointing out that, I guess you would file this under the death by 1,000 cuts stuff, that a lot of the various developer-specific Easter eggs have been taken out of the game. There was a coffee cup with one of the developers' names on the side of it that's been taken out. There's some pieces of graffiti and stuff that's been taken out. It feels like a lot of stuff is smoothed over and, you know, just sort of made to be the best product possible. And in doing that, you remove a lot of the humanity behind why a lot of people fell in love with the original Overwatch in the first place, which was that it felt like a passionate creation by a bunch of people who wanted to create this world.
Speaking of that, and if we can, let's end on a happy note, because you did tell me before recording that you were watching the short for the new character, and that it really kind of worked for you.
I love that short.
Do you think there's still enough personality, enough character, enough quality behind this game that it could succeed in the same way that it succeeded in 2016? Like, are the same kind of, you know, hallmarks of this game and this series still in there somewhere if you dig enough?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you know, you get games like this, and I was trying to think of a comparison. Avengers was a little bit close, where you sort of have this immaculate art department, you know, immaculately rendered characters and everything. I didn't really love Avengers art direction, but the actual rendering quality and the, you know, the graphic design and everything, you know, in terms of the actual look of it, looked pristine, looked AAA, etc.
It did.
You know, versus the financial wing of the company that just sort of says, well, we can monetize every single piece of this, weapon charms, emotes, victory lines, voice lines, everything else. Even that's the thing. Even old school profile icons that were given away for free in Overwatch 1 are now $1 or $2. You know, every single component, if you just like matrixed out, like, you know, made this whole sort of grid of every single element that made up the original game or any first-person shooter, and then just matrixed it out and put a price tag on every little thing. Put a price tag on every little thing. That's the worst part of it. However, it is offset by the likes of the new short that goes alongside Kiriko, which I thought worked very, very well. And the overall approach to Overwatch shorts has been this Pixar level, you know, quality of animation that is thoroughly recommendable. It's like Overwatch should be the most beautiful, accessible, give it to anyone, they'll find a character they love, game platform possible.
Yeah.
But it's so offset by just leeching you at every single turn, which I guess is some just modern gaming stuff.
I guess, especially modern free-to-play gaming.
But when it's this inviting and enjoyable, and the character diversity is so incredible, and playing it is so bang on when it works, the other elements of it are just depressing. Like, you know, it should have been an open goal to do an Overwatch 2.
Yes.
And even the stuff they said that was coming in the beginning is not here. And so it's like, what are we even doing? What even is this?
Oh, my friend, you can tell that Blizzard especially are an American company who don't know the rules of football/soccer because they have missed so many open goals by just skying it over the crossbar over the past year or so with their games.
And the 10% of you that will know what the hell we just said.
Hey, half of our audience is in the UK. They'll appreciate that one.
Depends if we're offside, eh?
Hey, very good.
Red cards and all that.
Yellow card
the
for
referee.
You. Yellow card. What was I said?
Don't know.
Blizzard, something about Blizzard. Talking about Overwatch 2.
Yes.
I can't remember what I was going to say. My question is, and what I want to see is, just as a final thing, will the PvE make this feel like a more compelling package whenever that drops? Because like I said, that was the thing that was initially front-loaded. They did eventually switch gears, but when that comes in, presumably with more cutscene-based stuff, maybe more story, and will that make Overwatch 2 a more appealing package than what it is now, which just sounds like Overwatch 1, but free to play?
I don't know, man. I feel like I don't know. I feel like this just is Overwatch. Like, it was always that thing where you kind of just assumed Overwatch, like Rocket League, like Destiny, would just be a platform. And obviously when Activision did this Bungie did this with their Destiny, and made it, Destiny 2, everyone just refers to it as Destiny anyway. So I feel like Overwatch will live on as just the Overwatch platform, and they'll try various things with different festivals and events and seasons and everything else. In terms of justifying what Overwatch 2 means, and justifying what a sequel could be or should be or whatever, I don't see them making this feel like a sequel. This feels like, from their point of view, from their perspective, this is what they think Overwatch 2 is. Like, it's a completely overhauled monetization system, and it's more of what you love. Like, it's just, it's more of what you love, but a little bit worse.
Yeah.
And we'll tweak little bits of it. As my phone rings, because we can just say that it's in early access or whatever. I feel like they'll just monetize as much of it as possible, and I will personally be amazed if they can invert the reputation around it. And there'll always be a portion of the fandom that will just keep coming back to it. But it's over to you down in the comments as to how long you've been playing Overwatch, what do you think of Overwatch 2, and what do they need to do to make it feel worthwhile in 2022. For now, I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com.
I've been Josh from WhatCulture.com.
And we'll catch you next time.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Who's your favorite?
Tracer.
Yes, I
it's
love Tracer.
basic, but Tracer's great.
I like Genji.